Hello and welcome, Stand Up World. Good to have you back. If you're coming back and if you've never joined us before, so glad to have you. We have a great show today. Say hello to Patrick Arnold.
How's it going, Mike?
How are you, Patrick? Patrick's
Good.
there in Boston. I'm here on the island of Mallorca in seclusion, where I've been sent by the U.S. government, right, Patrick?
Yeah, they sent you away.
I'm in comedy confinement. We've been sent here to try to think about some of the comedic crimes I've committed. And the government just wants me to kind of sit here and slowly die on the island, which is the same thing I've been doing in LA. Okay. But, wow, it's crazy. What a crazy time it is. Is it crazy in Boston right now?
Oh man, yeah. Don't even get me started. It's crazy everywhere.
Man, the people are protesting, the pro-Palestinians and the pro-Israelis, and I just, to me, I just think people just want to get out and march. Whether it's in this day and age, people can get out. They'll march for BLM, for trans, for Palestine, for Israel. We used to just call that calisthenics, Patrick.
Great point.
We
People just want to
we
get their steps in.
we used to call it exercise, okay? And what I love is, here's the thing. It's just on a moment's notice. In every major city, columns of hundreds of thousands of people just up and down, and it feels like the same group with just different hats and scarves and signs, and somehow or another, they put these groups together so fast. I cannot get 6 friends together for a poker game. I just don't understand the speed at which these people put everything together, but it's pretty incredible. And I just feel like I'm in awe of it until they interview some of them, and some of them, I saw one kid go, I don't understand what if the Jews hate being Palestine so bad, why don't they just go back to Europe where they came from in the first place? What'd they leave Europe for? Okay, I guess you skipped school that day. And then the other thing, I mean, the whole thing's so sad. Believe me, I don't mean to make light of it,
Right.
but when they're ripping down the signs on the wall, and then people are trying to find those people and ruin their lives, I'm thinking, man, if I got in trouble for everything I ripped down when I was a kid, I'd be working at a Waffle House right now. These are just kids. They don't know. They're ripping down a sign, and in those signs, it's not like those signs are going to help anyway. I'm sorry. There's like anyone's going to look at it and go, wait a minute, this hostage? I know where they are. They're in Gaza. I got to call somebody. We know where they are. And if anything, people are just going to walk by. Getting them ripped down is what made people know what the signs were about. Those idiots helped the other idiots, Without it, you just walk by and see those signs and you go, oh man, it must be some new album or something, some stupid punk rock thing.
That's true.
But listen, we're in a crazy time, and I have to admit, I don't know enough about anything to get really too pissed off about anything.
Yeah.
I know what I feel in my heart, but I'm not going to get too crazy publicly about it because, man, I'm not God. There's one God, and it's you. It's you, Patrick.
I know.
You're my higher power. And Actually, my wife is my higher power, but that's a whole nother story. I have no choice but to just whatever she says goes.
That's true.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I I say jump. She says fuck off. Um, but let's talk about this guest today, who is one of my really good buddies, and I really love him. And he's not a stand-up comic, but that's okay because he's a funny dude, and he's a great actor and a great musician. And he's just John Stamos. He's John Stamos. He's Everybody knows him, and I love the guy. I've been friends with him for years. We've become really tight the last year or so too, since Bob died. you know, but we've always been friends. I've just always really loved him. He's just a really special guy. And, Dave Coulier is like my brother, so when he got that show and when Bob got that show, I was always around there. I even did an episode of that show early on as one of their buddies.
My cigarette bothering you? Oh, no, it's a poker game. Your eyes are supposed to sting.
The last cigarette of the evening.
What a shame. Oh, here's a refreshing new smell.
Wow, that's so cool. So you were there when that show got created, like just with Dave and
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was friends with Bob and Dave
Dave.
long before that show.
Wow.
In fact, Dave was the best man at my wedding, and he had to leave a little bit early to go rehearse for or shoot, maybe even shoot the pilot for Full House. But we'll talk about that all. Let's get this guy on here. I love this dude. John Stamos. All right. John Stamos. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Why are you yelling? You got the job.
I got the job?
Yes.
All right. Let me ask you a question.
Let me tell you something. I love you, Mike. Thanks for
love you
having me
too.
on your podcast. I didn't even know you had one until yesterday, and I said, "Can I
No.
be on it?" And then, if you throw a stick out my front door, I'll hit 6 people with a podcast. But yours is better.
That's true. Thanks for starting this interview on such a high note, and just kick a guy while he's down. Just because you got a hit book,
You've never been down. You've never been down.
Okay.
That's the thing. I mean, you go down. We're on down. How long have we known each other, Mike? Let's start with that.
I would say 25, 30 years, maybe 25 years. I don't know.
More,
How long?
because
When
Full
did you
House-
start Full House?
Why is he yelling? What's the kid's name in the corner over here?
Patrick.
Patrick. Say hello to
Patrick.
Patrick, John.
Hi, Patrick.
Hey, John.
You shouldn't put him so close to you because he's younger and more attractive. And
I get it. Well,
know,
I'm
I'm
used
gonna-
to that.
I'm going to compliment you more than an insult. But we knew each other. A Full House was like 35 years ago. Like 80.
Okay, so then that's when I met you.
Yes. And you were good friends with Dave and eventually Bob. And you've been
Actually, when I met you, I had known Dave and Bob both for years.
Okay, good. Thanks for clarifying that. I wanted to say that you've been a guiding light and an influence, especially the last 8-9 years. I sobered up to me, and I just love you. You're a great family man. You're a great father. You're a great friend. You show up for people. You're there. I can always count on you. And I don't like the shirt you're wearing today because it's a little tight. But
It's not tight, but
well,
you,
no,
but,
it's nice.
but you know what the shirt is, right?
Well, yeah, it's to cut it out. My son, for some, that's Dave's, your buddy Dave's catchphrase. For some reason, my Billy got the heard what catchphrase because I think we were talking about how rude or something, or he watches Full House to mock me. So I'll say, Billy, go clean your room. He's like, you got it, dude. But somehow he learned the word catchphrase, and so literally last night he was going, Dad, here's my catchphrase. He puts man at the end of it. All right, man. That's my catchphrase.
Yeah.
But I was trying to tell him, he said, what are the other catchphrases? I said, well, DJ had Oh My Lanta. And he's like, what? What's that? And Joey had cut it out. He goes, oh, and I was trying to remember the sign language. That's
right.
That's what you're
Cut
thinking.
it out.
Well, what's it though? What's the hand? What's it for it? Yeah. And then
If you try to analyze Dave's stuff too much,
yes,
your brain implodes.
Yeah.
It's that deep.
Billy was doing something like he was doing cut it, man, and he added his own flair to it, and I think it was better than Dave's already.
But
Mike, you are out there again. This guy, you've been a successful actor, writer, director, producer, and yet you still haven't put me in anything of yours. Writer, director, producer, and now you're going back out on the stand-up world, and I'm so proud of you.
yeah,
Who does that at 92? How old are you? 82.
91.
Yeah.
91. Come on.
Sorry. And you're funny as
Oh man, you know what, Patrick? We don't even have to air this episode. This is it's
Yeah, of course. Just hold back the biggest guests we got. Yeah, keep it in the bank. We're good.
Why? Because I'm complimenting you so much.
It's a first for sure.
I love you.
By the way, I want to say, first of all, you know, I feel how strong I feel for you and how much I love you, and loved your book.
Thank you.
And congratulations, by the way, because it really is doing great.
Number 4 on the bestseller list.
I think it's got to be more than number 4 at this point. That was a couple of days ago.
Yeah. Well, you got Brittany up there. She's doing great there.
But here's the thing. My question is, you and I, we talk on this on FaceTime all the time.
When you can figure it out, yeah.
And so I'm sitting here with the same, see you in this room all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You never have that thing in front of the microphone and the headset. What are you being all professional about today? What's the deal?
Because this is the bigs. I've done every show, every podcast, and this is the one that I really is the biggest. So I want to be prepared. I want to have a
This
nice
is the
microphone.
smallest.
Yeah.
This is. Let me tell you something.
Wait.
The only one watching this is me. Is my neighbor.
Who's your neighbor? Wait a minute. You're not Mark Maron.
No.
Shit. I gotta go.
You already did Mark Maron.
No, I didn't. He won't have me on there. Him
Are
and
you
I don't.
serious?
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm a fan of his podcast certainly, and he I get it why he doesn't have me. We're different, you know. He's too intellectual for me. But listen, you have been helping so many young comics too lately, and I think that's really special. That's
Yeah,
really
I love it. I love the stand-up world. I really do. I love being back. And listen, that's something I have to say. That's something that I really learned from Bob, and I got from Bob and from Jeff Ross. You know,
mentoring young guys.
These guys have really been great mentoring young comics and really been excited about young talent, new talent, and you know, and
that's what Rodney used to do, right? I mean, that's how.
Yeah,
Bob
yeah, and I love it. Like I have a couple friends. This guy Vinny Fastline, who I think is fantastic, and Griffin James, and but then you introduced me to that guy Matt Friend, who I really like a lot. He's going to be on the show next week, and he called me up to do this thing with him at the Bourbon Room, and the only time I'd seen him was sitting in that chair right behind you.
Yeah.
You know?
This is my bathroom, by the way.
Yeah. He was taking a shit right there.
Right.
But I went and saw his show. I thought he was great. You know, I really did. I was blown away by his show. I thought, you know, listen, this is not going to make me any friends, but I don't really love impressionists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think they're okay. But
so
he's so much more than an impressionist.
Why are you friends with Dave for so long, Dave Coulier?
Well, Dave is a lot more than an impressionist.
Yeah, you're
Dave
right.
just happens to do impressions.
That kid, that Matt Friend is really sharp. And what you said about him was, so you know that I'm obsessed with stand-up comics. You guys fascinate me. I study you. I could never do it, but I love the mathematics. I love the way you craft the joke, and this word doesn't work there, and tighten it up here. It's science, right? And it's fascinating to me. That's why, as you know, when Bob and I first started working together, we weren't the best of friends, and we had different processes. And it took me a long time. I always thought it took me a long time to tell him that he was a genius, and I learned so much from him, and I learned so much from Dave. So to watch a kid like Matt Friend come around. Now, the thing about Matt is that you guys you paid your dues, all of you guys. You were in clubs for 10 years, 20 years. This kid is new, and he gets up and does an hour like he's been doing it for 10, 15 years.
It kind of blows my mind. When
Pretty
he told me after the show we were talking, I said, how long have you been doing it? he basically said about 3 years.
Crazy,
I
right?
couldn't believe it. I
I think
couldn't
it's
believe it.
I think it's like actors where like some people right out of the gate they got it, like DiCaprio or Jennifer Lawrence or something. And maybe there's a few comics like that. I'm the opposite. It took me 30 years.
Robin, Eddie Murphy,
Yep.
very few.
And they
I
did,
saw very few.
but Robin worked the streets,
Yeah,
he's doing comedy and did all the
yeah,
clubs. And Eddie,
yeah.
I don't know his story, but this guy's yeah, it's so nice to see you mentor these people. It's important, I think, right?
Well, it's not even mentoring. I like them. They make me laugh. I mean, there's
Yeah, but you
this woman, Catherine Blanford, that I saw at the club that Patrick's involved with in Boston, Laugh Boston.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm going to show you a link of her later, John.
Yeah, please do.
You'll love her.
I was
And
I was on Whitney last night. Every podcast I'm on, I talk about you. But I was on Whitney last night when we talked about you. But I was asking her about mentoring, and she said I don't even know how to do it because it's a different world out there. Like she would say go do 10 years in the clubs, like all you guys, and then she said, but these people come up on TikTok and she said they're really funny. A lot of these people are really funny. Now I don't know if they can hold a stage like you can. I don't know if they have that. I don't know how Matt Friend did it. He just walked up and he can hold the stage and be
yes,
relaxed.
he
And tell story.
can.
But it's pretty rare to see someone do that after a couple of years, and it's rare to see any of these Instagram or TikTok stars be able to do that. They can be funny on with their phone, but can they get up there? But that's probably the new frontier, right? That's where a lot of these comics are being.
Well, there's a guy named Trevor Wallace. Patrick, do you know Trevor Wallace?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a guy named Trevor Wallace, and he's got a huge, huge YouTube following.
Yeah.
And he was playing the clubs, and that guy really worked hard to become a real stand-up comic.
Right.
But I think when he started coming around, the way I feel it is there was a lot of he's a YouTube guy,
Yeah, right.
but he worked it. He really worked it,
Yeah. It's also so that's a new platform. There's also like to watch musicians, like kids playing instruments like they're better than us adults. I think the advent of YouTube has taught these younger kids to learn to play instruments, to do comedy. But we didn't have, I got to show Rickles when YouTube came out. I got to show Don all his old some of his old Tonight Show appearances that he never saw. These kids have at their fingertips Rickles, you, Bob, Dave, Robin, all the greats, Carlin, and you can go on YouTube and go, I want to learn how to play drums, or I want to learn how to play guitar. You get a guitar, and then you're off. I think American Idol, has been in people's DNA. Kids, how old are you, Patrick?
I'm 23.
Yeah,
So
you know what I mean, right? Your whole life is, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, I have to say also, I've seen you. I don't know if mentor is the right word, but just kind of find people and just kind of give them a great nod. Like I remember one time I had that birthday party.
Yes.
And you brought this drummer,
right?
This guy you saw on TikTok.
Yeah.
And you were like, you brought this guy, and
he was 20. His name was Grayson, and he was so excited. I do mentor him, and I give him advice, but not drumming because the guy's a fucking genius. I don't know where it comes from, but yes, he was 20, and he was so excited because he loved stand-up comedians. He loved you. He loves Jeff Ross was there, and Mark Maron. And Jeff said, "Come on, I'll take you to the store. I'm going on." And he was only 20, so he couldn't get in. He was so bummed out.
Oh, right.
But you were nice to him too.
Remember when we did that Netflix special? There was this girl who had this song.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I said, who is she? She goes, you go, I met her. I found her on TikTok.
Yep.
And she sent me this song. And then tell the other story though. There's a second part of that story that I love.
Was she this girl's name is Jax, and she was so Matt Friend I found on thing, Grayson I found on Instagram and stuff, and then Jax. So she did a version of the Full House theme when Bob died and changed the words. It was very moving. Lori sent it to me and I started crying. I think she sent it from prison, and nobody got that. Lori.
Oh, we didn't hear that. It didn't come out.
Well, maybe
That
we
was
can we do
you sent
subtitles
it.
on this time? Come on, you guys are supposed to be funny,
Yeah,
Patrick.
sure.
Yeah.
No,
Sure.
you mumbled it. You think she sent it from prison. You made a prison joke from Lori
Uh-huh.
Loughlin.
Right.
It's
All
not
right. Well,
funny, man.
you need
It's
to
not
coach.
funny.
You need to coach.
Why don't you just say do something about the Jews dying?
That's not.
Okay?
I'm not even going near that. So,
Okay.
Jax. So Jax. So I asked her if I could use that song for your Netflix special, which I didn't include you in the book as the producer of that thing, and I apologize. Yeah,
I'm used to it.
yeah. And so anyway, so I'm making this too long. So then I did a thing for her with her mother, and she has this incredible following on TikTok and Instagram and everything. And then we did this recording together. Anyway, I've become friends with her, and I'm so proud of her. And she had this song called Victoria's Secrets, which was a huge hit. And then she had this song called Like My Father or something. It's about wanting to find a man like her dad. And I was in Greece with with uh, with some Greeks and some non-Greeks. There was about 8 of us, and it was Nia Vardalos, the great Greek, and her boyfriend, and me and Caitlin and Sia, the singer Sia,
And
and her
Tom
husband.
Hanks, weren't you with Tom Hanks and Rita?
Yeah, but I don't like to drop
Yeah,
names like
I'll drop them for
that.
you. It's a
Tom and Rita.
better
So
story.
we were at their house for dinner, and I said this. I was pumping Jax. I said, "Have you guys heard this Victoria's Secret song?" And I played it on my phone, and they're like, yeah, "Okay, that's good." No, I don't know. Then I played this Like My Father song, and Sia goes, "Wait. That's Jax." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Listen, that's the only song that I've ever heard that I wish I wrote that I didn't." And that's a lot saying for her. Like this. And so I said, "Oh, okay." I said, hold on a second. And I was like, "Jax, answer the fucking phone," when I texted her. And so and this is how cool everybody was there. Not only did they have no problem with me calling her and doing what I did, but they all Tom has his camera out, Rita has her camera out, and they were all filming it so we could send it to her. So she gets on. I said, hi, Jax. There's a woman here. I think she's a singer. She says that she heard your song, and it's the only song that she wished she wrote. Jax, say hi to Sia. She starts screaming, and they start talking. Turns out Sia's like her number one idol. So then I go, here's Nia Vardalos to go, and I said, Tom Hanks, what do you think of her song? Tom Hanks, she's like, what's your life, Stamos? And it was just one of those great moments that took 2-3 minutes. So then I get home and Sia says, give Jax my number, have her call me or send me some music, whatever she's doing. So I get home. I said, did you call Sia to text her? She said, no, what do I do? I said, just text her. She texts her. That night, Sia sends a car, takes her to Van Nuys Airport. Her, Sia, Jax, and Paris Hilton are on a private jet to Vegas. They catch Katy Perry's show and fly back. Now, that's not even the end of the story. So yesterday, I'm on Whitney's podcast, and we were talking about this story. And she said, oh, I'm friends with Sia. And she tried to call her. And Sia texted back and said, oh, tell Johnny I said hi. Is he going to Jax's wedding? Because I'm going next week.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? So it's
Are
so
you
easy though,
going?
right? I
Are you
can't.
going?
I know I'm busy. I can't go. But Sia's there. She doesn't need me.
Hey,
And it's in
that
Arizona.
is
It's not even here. Like it's far away somewhere. Isn't that crazy?
that is amazing though. That is just amazing. Someone you just saw her on TikTok, and I remember when we were doing the special,
Mhm,
and you said let's use this song, which I loved.
mhm.
The rights guys were, how do we find her? We don't even know who she is. She didn't even at the time. She didn't even. I don't think she had a manager or anything. That's some girl on TikTok John
Yeah,
found,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's amazing how.
Yeah, good. But as if you've read the book, you tell your listeners if they give a shit that I had these mentors. My first was Jack Klugman. He was my OG. Thank you. He was my OG mentor, and then Gary Marshall,
Yeah.
and then the Don Rickles, and
Yeah, and by the way, I love the way you point that out in the book. I love the way you talk about, like we're talking now about how you do it and how Jeff Ross and Bob was so good at it,
yeah.
and those guys mentored those guys.
Mhm.
You talked so great about how all those guys were with you,
Yeah, now they're all dead, so I'm gonna have you as my next mentor. You kind of are,
I
and I
had
mean that.
I had an amazing mentor in my life. I really did. I
What
had
was it?
a guy named Larry Bresner,
Okay.
and he was Robin
Comic.
Williams' manager, and he got my first movie made, Coupe de Ville,
Yeah,
and he
that's a good
he
movie.
he he got every movie I ever did, he came in. He and I watched The Rough Cut Alone. Every script, he read every script. And
He was a manager, but he gave great notes and could see
yeah,
through. Yeah.
he's a producer. He produced Arthur. He produced Good Morning Vietnam. He
Oh, wow.
produced so many great comedies. But he just was my friend, and he got me going. And he just was he was the greatest. You have to have that in life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And so we have to be that now, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, but it's our turn to pay it back. Bob, at Bob's funeral, Chappelle was there, and I said, man, you're the GOAT, right? And thank you for making Bob feel special the last couple of years, because I know he goes, are you kidding me? He goes, when I was just starting, Bob helped me and mentored me and told everybody about me, and he was one of the first famous comics that I knew that was kind to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I say something about comedy, stand-up comedy now? You guys are a much needed levity right now in this world. You brought up some world topics, but thank God that you guys are out there doing comedy for all of us people that just we need a break from the heaviness, the bad news. It's all bad news. There's never any good news. We can handle it, but I could see why these kids have so much anxiety and they're all depressed. And people like the kid here, yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
you should see him.
Is he?
He's got nothing but issues.
Yeah, he looks happy. He looks fine. You live in Boston?
I do, yeah.
That's cool. How do you like it there? Good.
It's fun. Yeah, I love it.
Are you from
He's
there?
in he works for this great guy John Tobin, who has about how many comedy clubs? 10 or something? 8?
Just under 10, yeah. Yeah, we got a bunch of clubs around New England and Detroit and Plano.
Do you do stand up? Or are you just a fan like
I,
me?
I haven't. No, I tried a few open mics when I first got into it, and then I just fell behind the scenes doing everything that comedians don't want to do for themselves. So
All right. Well, thank God you're around, because these comedians are lazy and they're out of their fucking minds. They're depressed. They're all that
they
shit.
sure are.
What do you
No,
say
it's so
about what?
funny you say that though, because last night I took one of my roommates to a show and we left, and he was like, "It's so funny that your job is just laughter. Like you get to laugh for your job."
Yeah.
And
What a great
yeah,
job.
we're
That's
very
so
lucky.
good for you. What's his
Hey,
name again? Matthew?
Patrick,
Patrick. Sorry. I don't know why.
Patrick.
You don't look like a Patrick. Are you Irish?
I am Irish.
Santino too. Boozer.
Yep.
Booze hound. I walked into a studio yesterday, so much booze around. Like I had to step over booze to
The name
move
of his
booze.
podcast is Whiskey Ginger.
Oh.
The guy he's
No,
not an alcoholic. He's just a fish.
he's
Okay.
he's
He's
funny.
just a drunk. And by the way, I guarantee you what he said was, let's have Stamos on the podcast.
Try to tempt him.
He's sober. I'll get him drunk on the air, and it'll be a great clip.
No, he didn't.
I wouldn't put it past a guy like
Bert
Santino.
Kreischer, yes, did that, but not Santino. I'm kidding. I love, I did so many of these interviews over the last month, and a lot of heavier podcasts. Even I did with Katie Couric and Kelly, Bob's wife, and Crying and Brooke Shields and all this heavy. And I was like, give me some comedy, and that's why I reached out to you and then all of a sudden, Giannis Pappas, who's our buddy. Have you had him on here yet?
No, I want to.
Well, we could call him. You have to ask people,
Yeah.
I'm sure you do it. He set me up with Kreischer, with this guy Santino, and he's a good guy, Giannis. Now here's the guy. So this is your thing. You study stand up. Like why? And I've said this a couple times. Like why is a guy like him? Whitney gave me a good answer, but why hasn't he hit yet? Like why is he not bigger like some of these other guys coming up?
I think a lot of people just have trouble spelling the name Giannis.
That's probably true. Papas.
Honestly, I don't have the answer for that because, and the answer is it's on God's time, man. Giannis is gonna hit at one point, and listen, I think he's doing great. But you ask any comic about Giannis Papas, and they will say he's one of the best ever.
Yeah,
and I think that we're in this new world where everybody's kind of got their own shows and own doing things, and it's just going to happen for Giannis when it happens.
That's what Whitney said. She said, like you look at people that are supposed to be overnight sensations, like Bill Burr. Like how many specials did Bill Burr do before he hit big, right?
Billboard took 30 years to make it
Right,
big. 20,
right.
25 years, I guess.
Why are you laughing, Patrick?
No, that's how long it takes. It's like they could be
Right.
the funniest guy to all the comics, but the world just doesn't know about him yet. And
Yeah, that's
to me,
true. And a lot of guys. What Rodney he was 60 or something.
Yeah, there's no, if you try to chart a course and there's everyone's got a different course, and I think you just have to just let it happen. And Giannis is a really great example of that, where I think you just have to be funny and learn what your voice is,
Yeah.
and enjoy your life, and enjoy your life of funny, and it'll happen. And he's a guy that's just, there's so many roads to the center of town, but I don't think that there's like a red line that he's got to cross. And
Well, he
okay,
doesn't. He doesn't want to go to the center of the town. He wants to be more successful as a comic. Hey, so when you started
John,
stand-up,
John, it
what?
was an analogy. You see,
When you
you actor singer types don't
Yeah,
get these
I don't see.
really important analogies.
Yeah,
but
I got it. It just wasn't clever. So when you got back on stage, tell me about that. Were you super? I mean, you sent me some videos and you were super funny. Was it weird? What you went years without going back on stage, right?
I love it. I love it now more than I did then.
Yeah.
I started really young. I started at 17.
Mhm.
Did it every
In
night
Detroit? In Detroit?
in Detroit and out
What made
here.
you think you were I don't mean I'm not being a smart ass here. When did you know you were funny, or what made you think you were funny, or who did how did your comedy come about? Were you bullied, it's picked on at school and it came out that way, or
Uh, I guess a little bit of everything. I wasn't picked on at school. I was more
I'm shocked.
I was just, I found out early on that I like to make people laugh, and that it was something I was good at, and
But
so
how'd you know you were good at? Because people were laughing and people told you
yeah,
you were good.
people were laughing, and I made people laugh sitting around a table, and then I made people laugh in talent shows, and I
Yeah.
just at camp, and I just like to make people laugh, and I
Did you
found
go
out.
What kind of camp did you go to?
I went to Camp Tamaqua up in Algonquin Park, Canada, a Jewish summer camp.
Mm.
And
The
did you ever see the movie Indian Summer that I
Yeah, I
did?
think so, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
wasn't in
that's
that
where
one
I
either.
shot it. Yeah.
I wasn't in that one either.
Um,
So you just and what? But how old were you when you were just like really making people laugh for real? Like
10 or
10?
11,
Yeah.
12, 13. I knew what I wanted to do when I was about 10.
Stand up.
Yeah.
And when did you know you were a director and writer? That was after I met you, huh? Did you start directing more?
No, I guess I don't know. I don't know. But what I was just going back to what I was going to tell you
Go ahead.
is when I did it really young, through all those years, and I was loaded a lot, and I was just, I just, it was just a different time in my life, and I needed the audience's approval too much.
Mhm.
I
So
needed to win.
you were desperate, and that people can feel that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't work on my act enough, because
Mm.
I had a good 30 minutes or whatever, and that's what I would do and I just, once I started getting movies made, I stopped doing it because it was stale bread to me. I wasn't working on it. And when I came back years later and did the Comedy Store documentary and started getting into this new world of comedy and interviewing the Rogans and the Santinos and Bobby Lee and Theo and Whitney and people that had their own worlds. It made so much sense to me how great that was, and I got back into it, and I like it more now than I ever did.
That's how I am with drumming. Like I started like a year or two ago. Got back to learning the basics of rudiments and stuff, and you just love it. What was your first?
Well, let me ask you a question because you reminded me of something.
Well,
Because
okay.
when I love to see you, I saw you at the Greek Theater recently with with the Beach Boys, and I've seen you before, but
Thank you.
I think it feels like lately, the last few years, you kind of stand out a little bit more with the Beach Boys than you used to. You know,
Well, most of them are dead now. So
is that what it is?
no. Well,
Yeah.
no. I mean,
No, but I just think you've just gotten so much confidence, and you really take center stage a lot more than you used to.
well, I try to watch the balance of that because I know people paying tickets to see them and they're just assholes jumping around. But it goes back to not trying so hard and letting that go and just being the best you can be and not worried about everybody loving you. And I just put a drummer who I found on Instagram, by the way. So they were replacing some people in the band. They said, "Do you know any drummers?" I asked everybody. It's a hard chair to fill because you have to sing and play and all that stuff. And we were a week away from the rehearsals for the new guys, and I couldn't find it. We couldn't find anybody. And I'm zipping around on Instagram, and I see this guy John Bolton. I think I showed you him, and he is everything that the Beach Boys embody. He was positive, optimistic, great drummer, great singer. It was his Beach Boys are his favorite band, and I got him that job. It changed his life, but also but the Beach Boys they just needed it, that burst of energy. Now I go up there and now he gets all the attention, like I'm like, fuck, I did myself a disservice here because people are walking like, man, that drummer John was great. Stamos, no, fuck Stamos, this new guy because he's spinning sticks. But it's like I don't care, I've
Yeah,
let all that
but
go,
you're
right?
out there singing, and you're out.
No, he's singing too. But what I'm saying is, I let that go, like wanting to be the best, wanting
That's right.
people love. I got back into the craft, the art of playing drums.
That's
as
right.
you're doing with stand up, and
That's
cool.
right.
So where was the first comedy club, and then and that you played in Detroit?
Yeah. I played in clubs in Ann Arbor as a kid. I
Okay.
would go up in jazz clubs and ask if I could go on in
Oh, really?
between at the break,
Hmm.
and I bombed.
What was your first joke? First big joke that did well?
I think the first big great joke that I can remember really as a great joke when I got out to LA, I wrote this joke about jogging on the beach. Everyone's so into jogging on the beach. I tried it. You run like 10 seconds, you hit the water.
You're going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that I remember a lot of comics like that joke, and I like that joke. But I as a kid, I just used to do stuff about my parents, and and
That's funny.
and
A lot of stuff.
yeah, it was just they were just jokes, But to me, it's the same thing now. It's like I don't care. I like to watch other comedians. I love to. I don't feel like, oh man, I'm doing something too much like that, or what. I wish I wrote that,
Yeah.
and I also
That's when we soar as artists, I think.
what?
That's when we soar as artists.
Yeah,
We let all
yeah.
that bullshit go.
And when I'm on stage, I don't really. It doesn't bother me if the audience, if I don't get it. I try anything I want to try. I don't really worry about if it doesn't work.
Clearly.
And I also not really that as worried as some people think I should be about
No.
whether it's politically correct or not.
Let's jump to, and what's your latest there was a great joke I asked you about the other day that was so, what's your best joke now that you feel good about?
How many dead John Stamoses can you fit in the trunk of? Oh, sorry, no, I don't do the dead John Stamos joke.
Crickets out there. I mean, if they were listening, they're not now. What? No, seriously. And I'll tell you why. I tell you why I'm asking you this, because I want to just see the evolution of comedy. What do you do now? You do jokes about your lesbian daughter. You do trans jokes. Don't you do trans jokes or something?
Yeah, I do some. I do. Honestly, I just for the opening of the show today, we just did a bunch of stuff about all these pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian marches, and how easy it is for the nowadays BLM or whatever to get hundreds of thousands of people in the streets. I can't get 6 guys together for a poker game. I don't know how they put this thing together that fast. Right. And I'm like, but everybody wants to march so much now. We used to call that calisthenics.
Yeah.
We used to be just like, it's called exercise.
Yeah. Richard Simmons.
People just seem a little too eager to get out and
Yeah.
march.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's usually free back massagers and stuff that comes.
Is that is that true?
Yeah. Yeah. And hand jobs. The ones I go to.
Yeah, you're going to the wrong marches or the
No,
right
what?
You're going to the right marches.
So I wanted to talk about Bob. I've taken this interview over, haven't I?
You really have, but that's okay. It's par for the course. But you know what?
I love you, and I like talking.
I know. I hear you.
We did one of my favorite. So Bob, I mean, Mike and I became friendly, like just maybe closer, a lot closer, a couple years ago, right? I mean, I was fucked up for a long time, and I think that was like, I want to stay away from that guy. And also, I was mad at you for the longest time because I thought you didn't help Dave out, but I was wrong, and I'm here to make amends and say you did try to help him. You did. You had him direct one of your shows, and you had things. So I'm sorry, but I'm glad we're good now.
Yeah, you were just being nosy.
That's true. So Smash got to this beautiful Netflix special you did for Bob. That was and I busted.
We did
it, but
Jeff.
Yes, that's true. But I was
Me,
busting
you, and Jeff
Whitney.
Ross.
Remember Whitney didn't show up. It was like, wow, we need a female here. We need somebody. I think she was. Well, there's a football game on that night, but there was a COVID thing. Do you remember?
I don't know why Whitney didn't show up, but
she didn't like Bob as much as the rest of us. But so I'm sort of opening the show, and I hear these two voices as we're walking out. Oh, the great thing was you were like, let's put a band together like a day before or something. Okay, what kind of band? I don't know. Just all right. So I asked John Mayer. He brought a bass player, and I brought Darren Chris, and it was a great idea, Mike. It was so cool. But then as I'm walking out, I hear these two familiar voices, and I'm like,
no, wait, you're forgetting who else was in the band.
Darren Chris, John Mayer, a bass player he brought, and me.
And Jackson Brown.
He wasn't in the band, but he played.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
He was too. He didn't want to. He was embarrassed by us. But I spent anyway. So I'm walking out, and I hear Chris Rock and Jim Carrey, and I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" Remember, they just walked in. I mean, I know you invited them, but we didn't know if they were coming, and they just walked in off the street, and the two of them were sitting there. I was like, "Fuck!" And I go, "We got to start the show." Okay. And I think it was Jeff's idea, maybe yours, to put couches out there. So it was more like a discussion and less of a thing. And they followed me out, and I'm like, whoosh, and I had to kind of open the show. And then these two guys just they were so fucking funny, and just there was nothing really planned. If you get a chance, you should watch this special because it was really beautiful.
Yeah, it's called Dirty Daddy. But I'll tell you what's funny, John, and you know this better than I did. I had a bunch of cameramen. I put it all together, and I thought I was going to just give it to the Saget family. I really didn't know, and I had called Chris and Jim, and I'd called everybody. But by the way, Jim always comes to the memorials, and he never goes on stage. So I didn't think Jim was going to go on stage.
We couldn't get him off stage. Chris Rock,
he never goes on stage, and
Chris Rock's joke about him? It's like, this is the first time that Jim Carrey's been here at the Comedy Store in like 30 years. I mean, if it takes someone dying, I'm going to kill Eddie Murphy tomorrow or something.
Yeah, that's right. But so it's really funny. So we put it together, and it was such an amazing night.
It was.
Jim and Chris and you and Jeff and everybody, and
Lovitz sent in a video.
Lovitz and John and I at dinner later that night, or maybe the next day, we just said we should see if we can sell this to Netflix and raise some money for Bob's charity and his family or whatever. Just something. And John called Ted Sarandos, and I called Ted Sarandos, and we called Robbie Pra, and it took a while. It did take a while, right?
Yeah. I mean, but
they finally came through. But it was so funny because after a while, some people at the Comedy Store accused me that I had already sold that before we even shot it.
No, you didn't. I'm here to testify.
Yeah, it was just so funny because
I thought it was. I thought it was so cool that you were having cameras there because I didn't even think about it. It's like, well, yeah, we should have this for posterity, or give it to the family and stuff. And they came and they approved. We sent them a copy, and I think they had a couple notes. Did they? I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
yeah. And Kelly gets up there. Kelly was Bob's, and this was fresh. I mean, Bob died about 3 weeks before. I think. I know I was a mess, and Kelly was, and she gets up to talk about Bob for the first time, and just as she gets to the mic, Jim Carrey goes, "Keep it short."
Yeah, that's right. No, and here's the funny thing. So I called Jim. I go, Jim, we saw it. We got to deal with Netflix. We're going to, do this as a benefit for Bob. And he goes, well, I didn't know that. I didn't even know you were recording it. I said, I got to be honest, Jim. I didn't even know you were going to go on stage, and I didn't know you were going to stay on stage the whole night.
Yeah, and
And
Jim,
I go, I said,
those are
just watch it.
cameras. You've seen
Just watch
cameras,
it.
right, Jim? You've seen cameras before. You were running through the audience, but he
No,
was beautiful.
but
You know
he,
what?
but I said, just watch it. He
Yeah,
calls me the next morning. He goes, I love it.
yeah,
I love it. Let's
that's
do
nice.
it. Let's do it. He goes, let me have my agents go to Netflix and get more money. I said, no, that's okay. I already promised I wouldn't do that. But he was just so, let's
Yeah.
do this for Bob.
Well,
You know?
it's the testament to Bob. I mean, this guy was loved. That's and you can Mike and I were two of his best friends, and I think we both agree on that. He didn't know how loved he was, and it made me
Never knew.
sad. Made me so
Never knew.
sad because the outpouring love for him was I hadn't seen anything like it since Lady Diana. I'm not even making that as a joke. Like who else got that kind of coverage? I mean, so it's sad. That's sad. And you tell me. Let's go into the mind of Bob for a second. And I know it's going to get. He was a complicated man. We both can attest that. And he never thought he was. You could compliment him like, "Oh, Bob, I love your new act. It's so fucking funny." And he'd say, "Okay, thanks," but he never thought of himself because he didn't have 19 Netflix specials and he wasn't playing arenas. In his mind, that was success, and he never got there. And
Honestly,
that's
I have to tell you, you're so right. Not long before he died, we were sitting up here on my back porch smoking cigars.
Mm.
And my son came and sat with it. My son loved Bob, and he was just saying, look, I'm doing great, but I just wish something else. I would just,
yeah,
he just always wanted more. I was like, Bob, and he was telling me he was trying to get this movie going, and
yeah.
he just never felt like the bell rang. And you're right, he didn't understand. By the way, none of us really realized how loved he was.
No, I was shocked. I was like, "Fuck!" I hope that was the only time I was jealous of him.
But we loved him.
Guess I
We
was. We
loved him.
love him.
We loved him, and I loved him. And he was in a lot of pain over some personal family
Yeah,
stuff.
and I think he was working hard to help that personal stuff and
Yeah,
working too hard. But here's the thing: that motherfucker died on top as far as
he
he was
loved his wife.
for that night.
He
Yeah,
was,
he
he
got
was
a great wife
crazy in love with his wife. He was crazy in love with his wife.
and his kids.
He loved his kids,
He
and
loved us.
I just God, I thank God and I have the text.
Right.
I just happened to he texted the day he died. He
Yeah, you
texted
guys were in
about
a little bit of a tiff, right? Before, and they made up.
no. We weren't
Yeah,
in a tiff. We were fucking around with each. No. The day he died,
yeah.
he tweeted something about his show in Jacksonville,
Okay.
right? And he said, tell all your friends to come. And I tweeted, Bob, all my friends, one's in prison, one's in a mental hospital, and one doesn't
Yeah.
speak English. So you really want me to call all my friends in Jacksonville?
He got mad at you.
No, on the thing, he lashed out. He goes, it's this is not the kind of thing you do on Twitter, whatever. And
Right. But you guys texted, and you
so
were
he
okay.
called me up. He goes,
Yeah.
I think he goes, I was kidding, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Bob,
yeah.
of course.
Yeah,
He goes, he goes, I go, Bob, I know when you're not being funny. I know you're too long. And we had this really sweet talk. And then finally I wrote on Twitter, I love you, buddy. And he wrote, his last text to me was, I love you too, Mike.
Yeah. We would say at these memorials for him, like pull out your phone and let's see the last text. He never left anything on the table. And this is for you, Patrick. When you got to tell people that you love them, that you care about them, that you're proud of them, anytime you're with them. My last time with him, he was. I talk about it in the book that he was everything that I wanted Bob to be. All of us, right? He was calm. He listened. He asked questions, and we were doing his famous joke. Tonight's specials are cake and cock, and we're out of cake, and so at the end, and we're always in a hurry. We're always, at the end, I said, well, let's. I don't think they're out of cake. Let's stay a little longer. Let's have some dessert. And he said, yeah, let's do that. And we stayed an extra 20 minutes, 30 minutes where we would have left earlier. And that's a lesson too. It's just like, if you're with people you love, have the cake, take your time, because tomorrow's never promised. I didn't think that was going to be the last picture I ever took with him, and he
Well, the
wrote the
thing
nicest
also
thing.
about Bob that I always loved from the beginning is how good he was to Dave. Because Dave and I were roommates, and Bob was at our house all the time, and he was hanging with Dave, and
He was better to Dave than you were to Dave. That is what you're saying.
yes, okay,
Yeah.
fine,
Well, I'm just saying.
okay, God damn.
Um,
But hey, let me explain something. I was trying to say something real, and you gotta.
I'm sorry.
You
I learned from you guys to avoid anything real. You got to be.
No, but
I've been
I was
very
trying
real
to
on this part.
explain that. Then I found out they were blowing each other.
Oh, I ruined your joke. I'm sorry. Start over again. You can cut this part out. Right?
No,
So what's the deal, Dave? Bob was
no, Bob was so good to Dave, and it just so happened.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too heavy, but Dave lost Bob, his brother, and his father, and one of his other friends, another buddy that they grew up with, Digger, yeah, at the same time. And I just felt so bad for Dave, and Dave is just an amazing guy. I mean,
He's so beautiful.
he really is my brother. I just love him, and
There's a joke coming. Can I?
no, there's no joke coming, but go ahead, do whatever you got to do.
No, I was going to say.
By the way, Patrick, he's worse than a comedian.
Yeah, because I'm not neurotic. I am. No, what I was going to say.
Yeah, where does it say you're not neurotic? Let me read the book.
Read the
Hold
book.
on.
Yeah. No, I was going to say is that remember when when I saw him he was there already, and I was coming into Bob's. We were carrying the casket, and when I saw him, he dropped to his knees and I had to pick him up. He's it's but and I like to think of I remember Bob's last Instagram post. He was like, I feel like I'm 40 again. And I just did 2 hours, and it was a great show. And I remember talking to Jamie Lee Curtis the next day. I said, God, he was so alive, Jamie. And she said, that's how you want to die, alive. You don't want to die an old bitter asshole on a couch somewhere, pissed off that you didn't, do what you wanted to do in life. He left making. I said this in your special, and I said I talk about. I like to picture him this way. The last night, I pictured him going on stage for 2 hours and doing the greatest show he's ever done, and people were laughing and laughing. And he gets in his car and he sends a picture to Kelly, and he says, Kelly, can you make this look better, make me look more handsome? And she said, you're handsome enough, honey. I don't need to do anything to that picture. And he goes to the hotel and he lays down on the pillow, and he's smiling, and he's dreaming about the next time he's going to see his daughters and all of us friends. And he goes to sleep with this big smile on his face, because he knows that we're around, and that he just made a couple hundred people laugh the hardest they've laughed, and he did great. And that's what I like to think of.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was going to bring this up to you. I had this great memory. My wife always talks about this too. When you, me, and Bob and Jeff Franklin,
Yeah.
and I guess our girlfriends, whatever. My wife was my girlfriend at the time. I don't know. Maybe we all flew back for Dave's his first wedding. Back to
we were
New Jersey, I guess.
Yeah, we were such assholes. I know I was. I mean, we were ruining the wedding, and his first wife Jane got so pissed off at us, right?
We just wouldn't shut up.
No,
we just wouldn't shut up. We were just it was
power laughing.
Oh my God.
Dave invented this thing. We went to see Tom Jones or Wayne Newton in Vegas, and Dave invented this thing called the power laugh. Or like this crazy laugh. And we were doing that during his vows, and it was terrible.
It was just like honestly it was it was like if you could watch that right now you would cringe because
Oh, right.
and we were all what in our mid-20s or something maybe,
Yeah, we were
you know,
young and stupid.
but we just ruined this poor guy's wedding.
That's why they got divorced too. I think it was our fault. Hey, I have to get an MRI because this is going to sound like the biggest pussy thing on the planet. I've got this neck and shoulder issue from signing so many books. I had to sign 10,000 at first, and then another 10,000, and wah 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 wah. But I can't move
Damn,
now.
what a whining motherfucking
Can we?
Hollywood
Do you have?
showbiz celebrity bullshit.
Wait,
I had to sign so many books, I won't be able to wank forever.
I can't wink. You said
Wank,
wank. Oh, wank.
wank.
No, I will. I can go left. I want to. Can we? I love so the last scleroderma. Bob spent his life advocating for and raising money for a cure for scleroderma, right? And we had to go to every charity. It was too much. But his last one, he wasn't there, and it was they raised the most money. So we were saying Bob should have died sooner, but and he would have done that joke. Okay, he would
Yeah.
have not waited even this long. But
No,
but
no.
Mike and I, it was one of my great thrills we wrote this and then we got to do this sketch that night. Do you have I just found the Word document. Let's read it for the people. And if it doesn't work, you can use the audio. Do you have it? I texted it to you. You, Mike. You.
Mike.
Oh, me?
You look like McConnell.
I don't have his
He
number.
went
Yeah.
like Mitch McConnell.
Okay. I forgot about that. Okay, great. I got it. Let's do it. I didn't know you sent it to me. I thought you sent it to Patrick.
How do I have it on Patrick's number? What do you think? We're on Tinder together, or Grindr, whatever the fuck you are on.
Okay.
Boss.
All right.
But I love this, and it was a little edgy, right?
Yep.
And
he would have liked it. Okay.
Came out. And I said, Mike and I both love Bob without a doubt, but we're just talking backstage about what a huge pain in the ass Bob could be, right?
Right. And without a doubt, Bob had a master's degree in neurotic irritation.
He was an expert at making people crazy, me in particular.
I don't know. He can make me pretty nuts as well, John.
I think I got the most of it, really.
Did he ever text you so many times nonstop for hours that you had to drive over to his house in the middle of the night and take away his phone?
Yes. And he wouldn't leave. He wouldn't let me leave. Oh, yes. And he wouldn't let me leave. I had to lay next to him in bed and I had to.
Oh my God. Tell me he didn't make you
watch the student Oscar films? Yes. Over and over. Do you know how many times in front of my mother, Bob said that he wanted to take a student Oscar and massage her rectal cavity with it?
Well, in my case, it was my mother who said that to Bob. She told Bob she wanted to take a student Oscar and park it way in the back of the theater.
Is your mom still alive?
Yes, and she's very lonely.
By the way, when we did this at the benefit, we were much better.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cold read now. John is emotional. Yeah, well, we all miss Bob. You know how Bob always wanted to be there for you? Like he insisted to be right by my side for my first colonoscopy, then sing My Dog Licked My Balls the whole time. And then later he'd post pictures and video of it on Instagram. Terrible. Although I did get a lot of likes for my ass.
Did he ever invite you to dolly his mother's hospital bed as she was about to pass and ask you in front of her if he could leave the room so you could give her one last shtup to send her off happy?
No, not on her deathbed. But at least once a month before that, yeah. Well, I guess he just really loved his mom. Hey, did he ever invite you over to his parents' house on Friday for a Seder and during the blessings announced to the room that his lifelong dream was to sodomize me?
No, but he did tell them one Friday his lifelong dream was to sodomize me with his student Oscar.
Yep, been there. And that's why I'm glad that he never won an Emmy. That was a great joke I just cocked up, but because the Oscar's smoother and it goes up the ass easier, but the Emmy's got there's a
great
wings.
joke.
Yeah. Yep, been there, and that's why I'm glad he never won an Emmy.
Yeah,
Oh wait. Hey, you know that show that the Hollywood Medium? Well, I did an episode of it.
Really? I thought your career was in better shape, but I could be wrong.
Well, anyway, the first person the kid conjured up was Bob, and the second person and the third person was Bob. He wouldn't shut up. I never got to talk to my mother either. Did
Did he tell you this bit would work?
on your podcast or live? No. If Bob said it, it was safe. No, if Bob said it, it was safe. It was a safe bet. It wouldn't work. I don't get that. But he did say that he wanted to show us his acting and directing reel instead of the tribute video for tonight that we're going to show on him.
You mean the one they showed of Harvey Weinstein in his prison cell to keep his sex drive down?
I heard the Ukrainians were using that as a torture. I heard the Ukrainians were using it to torture prisoners.
The truth is, Bob was a well-written character, and I miss him a lot.
He was my brother. I take all the craziness again in 1 second if we could get him back. So let's watch this tribute film that's been put together for Bob.
Okay.
What?
Good.
There's more. There's 2 lines left.
Oh, does the
Favorite-
film mention his brag that he once fucked a chicken? That Colonel Sanders chased him down, screaming and yelling 2 miles down a country road?
I think we've hit a wall. Let's get out of here. That was cute. I don't know if you guys are going to play this on your podcast or the real one, but that was fun. I have to go get an MRI
that was
unless you
fun.
can do it for me. I love you.
Hey, Johnny, you're the best.
You're the best.
And I'm so glad this book is killing for you, man. You're the best. It's the, and I got to tell you, I'm just really lucky to be your friend. I mean that. I feel blessed to be your friend.
I do as well with you, and I just appreciate your guidance. You're a solid dude. You're always there for me. I just love that our friendship has sort of blossomed since Bob died. Maybe if he died sooner, we would have been friends longer.
Yeah, and by the way, can you do something? Can you put Dave in a movie?
We went on strike just to keep Dave out of television and movies.
Okay.
So we can go back now, or I'm kidding. I love you, and
Good luck on your MRI.
Thank you, buddy. Patrick, I love you too, and I'll
Love you,
maybe
John.
we'll get to meet someday in person, and keep
Love that.
doing it. And thank you guys for the comedy and the joy and the laughter in a much needed time. God bless you.
All right. So that was good. It's so much fun to have when I have one of my really good friends on. I felt the same way when Tim was on. It was just
Me too.
it was like you, on one level you just don't know how it's going to work, and the other level you just don't care. It's just it's just fun having your friend or your buddy on.
Just fun hanging. Yeah, it's fun to listen to and watch. Like, you guys are clearly just so close, and it's fun to hear the chemistry.
But and I'm really happy because this book is really doing well, and he just had his 60th birthday, and he had a big party, and everyone was there, and you just could feel all the love for John. He's just a very loved guy because he's special. So that was good. And next week we have a great guest. I'm really excited, and I've already spilled the beans, but it's Matt Friend, who I met through John, and John saw on TikTok and just took a liking to him, and he helped him get on Howard Stern, and Matt's career has taken off as a result of his friendship with John, and which is pretty cool. It says so much about John and Matt's talent, but next week's going to be great. So make sure you're around, and that's it. I hope you have a great week. Thanks for listening once again. And if you're listening on Apple, if you could just give us a like or a click or a review or whatever, it all helps. But do whatever you want. Just keep coming back. Thanks a lot. Love you. It means a lot.